on to public to be heard. Public to be heard is a time on the agenda where you can speak to the select board about town business that is not on the agenda. If you'd like to speak during public to be heard, you can either raise your hand in the room or you can use the raise hand feature in the Zoom application. To get to the raise hand feature, put your cursor around the bottom of the screen. A bar will pop up and there's a button that says reactions. If you click on reactions, it will offer you the opportunity to raise your hand. I am not seeing, did anybody want to speak during public to be heard? Don't see any hands in the room. Don't see any hands online. Okay, so let's move to the first business item, which is presentation of fiscal year 2022 financial audit. Got Dan and our guest, or just our guest? Come on up.
How's everyone doing tonight?
Good, good.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah,
Zoom for the last few years. So my name is Bill Kaiser. I'm a principal at Cattell, Brannigan and Sargent in St. Albans, Vermont. We've been doing the audit for the town of Essex for the last number of years. Certainly a little different this year with the turnover. I think it was about a year ago now that Sarah Macy had left, and then the town was in some flux with the separation from the village taking place right about now last year, starting to anyway. And Courtney Bushy was the interim. So a lot of the fiscal year that we audited through June 30, 2022 was under Sarah and Courtney. Courtney was here until maybe the first or second week of September, sorry. And then Dan took over. So there was maybe a week or two of interlap. And then poor Dan was here with us as a fresh director of finance during the mid-October audit field work. But he was left in good hands. Because of the timing of the audit, I was able to get with Courtney over the summer and do some preliminary audit work that we hadn't done in the past. And that helped us speed up the process, or helped initiate the process where it wasn't too many out of the blue questions for Dan while we were here in October. But overall, the 2022 audit resulted in an unmodified opinion, which was a clean audit and consistent with prior years. The one big difference from the 2021 audit is that the town was not required to have a single audit due to federal grant funds in 2022. The threshold for that is $750,000, and the town was well under the $750,000 threshold this year. There is about $1,650,000 in deferred grant revenues from the ARPA federal funds on the balance sheet at June 30, 2022. And the town also received about another million, a little over that, in October 2022. Those funds will be subject to single audit. We're still kind of going through the COVID funding. There will be a more simplified single audit, so it won't be as tense as a general single audit of non-COVID funds. And those details are still being worked out. But once the funding is used by the town, it's based on the year of expenditure. So that year will trigger a single audit. At this point, I spoke with Dan today, and there's still been really no defined usage of the fund. So I don't know if that would trigger a single audit at this point in 2023, but most likely in 2024. So that is something to look for. As far as audit adjustments go, each year, because of the timing of the audit, there are some changes that are made between when we get the initial trial balance and we start field work. So there's always been some client adjustments, but overall we had no material adjustments that we found while doing our audit testing during field work in mid-October. Again, consistent with prior years. Overall, the books for the town have been pretty clean, which is great. Just budget to comparison throughout the year and at year end. What the departments are seeing for revenues and expenses are consistent with what is actually being reported on at year end. Going into the financials, there's really no formatting changes this year. The MD&A is in the beginning part because the financial statements are single year. The MD&A kind of provides a year-over-year look at the financial performance of the town, as well as future considerations and investments that the town has planned going forward. In the past, there were a timeline of events for consolidation with the village. Then last year, because of the timing of the release of the financials, there was some separation timeline. That's all been condensed down to just really the town reporting on its own for future years. So that is, for the most part, beyond us now. The government-wide financial statements is the first section of the financial statement that you see. That's more of an accrual basis reporting, which you would see in a standard business. So you've got your capital assets, that's where your long-term debt is reported, as well as the GASB 68 adjustments for the pension accruals. And then the fund financial statements, which is really what your budget in the general fund is based off of each year. And then in the back of the financial statements, your supplementary information, there's budget to actual performance figures. On that schedule, you'll see that the town in 2022 did have a deficit change in its fund balance. It was about $320,000 overall. That was planned for. So during the 2022 budget planning process, the town set aside a fund balance of $410,000 as a deficit from past year's fund balance to help out in lieu of raising property taxes. Put $410,000 into the budget. So this was a planned deficit. I believe there's about $300,000 roughly for 2023. So the town is using the previous year's built-up fund balance in lieu of increasing property taxes for future years' budgets. The proprietary and water funds are next in the financial statements. The water and sewer funds turned a $40,000 profit for the fiscal year 2022. And then the recreation fund is also reported there. It had a deficit of $70,000. I think a lot of that had to do with some programs being more on the EJRP side for the summer of 2021, where also coming out of COVID, some programs just simply may not have run in that summer. As of June 30, 2022, there were already about $60,000 in payments received for the summer programs going into fiscal year 2023. So hopefully the rec program for the town the hope is that it would obviously start to turn future profits. The town does have a fund balance policy in its general fund. 15% of the future year's budgeted expenditures need to be above that amount needs to be assigned for future purposes. And when I was discussing the planned deficit, as of June 30, 2022, the town has $1.5 million reserved for future expenditures and not assigned for a specific purpose. So there is that room there to assign for future deficit or prepare for future deficits. There are no changes in the footnotes this year. Required reporting changes, that is, as of June 30th, there were lease changes where capital leases, which the town does have for mainly for fire equipment, are now being reported similar to long-term debt versus a line on the financial statements for capital leases. And other than that, that's all I have for the June 30, 2022 audit. Unless, and open it up to questions for you guys.
Great. Thanks. Yeah. Any questions or comments from board members?
Well, probably a lot of my comments are more tuned towards the financial director going forward, but I will ask. I noticed that you don't do a fraud check. You're not responsible in any way to make sure that the controls that the town has for fraud are up to date or. We do review the internal controls. In the past years with the single audit, it's a very intense internal control based audit. This year, actually, with the village and town still technically being merged throughout 2022, for a good chunk of the field work and in the summer when I was working with Courtney, we were planning on the potential for a single audit. So there were additional internal control procedures that took place for the town and the village. In the end, though, the audit is not designed to prevent or detect fraud. And that would be the case for a single audit as well. Obviously, if
fraud was detected during our audit procedures, we would go to Greg and Dan, if appropriate, and address those procedures.
I'm not insinuating that there is any. It's just that in this particular environment, it's good to have very strong controls, and I assume
Absolutely.
the audit would check that.
Yeah, and that's one thing I do want to point out is with the past single audits, and I mean, the town and the village were blessed with Sarah Macy, obviously, for a number of years, and she built a strong foundation for Dan and the city going forward, for procedures to follow, where there is for a small municipality in the end, there is a strong segregation of duties in the finance
I
department.
may just one more question. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I'm gonna say just one more question was, I noticed the town has sweep accounts for investments and interest.
Yes.
Are those performing the way you would expect them to do with the amount of money that the town has on hand at any one time?
Yeah, so with the excess funds, obviously, the FDIC only insures $250,000. So if a financial institution were to close, that's mainly the purpose of those sweep accounts. And while they're expensive, they also earn kind of an offsetting interest rate. But yes, they are performing the way they should. In the 2021 audit, there were all the CD accounts, and they have since been closed. I'll note that as well. I think a lot of the excess funds between the town and the village was the reason for those CD accounts. But those are no longer.
Can I ask one more question about sweep accounts? In your opinion, do you feel that that adds a lot of work for the town's financial department to manage those and balance them because the money gets moved in, moved out, moved in and moved out?
While at the close of business, the funds are moved in and out on a daily basis, it's usually the same amount. I don't think reconciling wise, I don't think it adds that much of a process because in the end, it's one account on the GL where you're taking two bank balances. And
Okay, thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Greg, did you want to comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to our fraud controls a little bit. And so first off, the town has a purchasing policy that assigns who has the authority to purchase up to what account or what threshold of money. Then after that, every single purchase we do goes through this system called ReadSoft or Kofax now.
I think it's ReadSoft.
The name has changed a couple times,
yeah.
but it's an electronic system. Every invoice gets uploaded to that and paid, and each invoice is approved by multiple people before it goes out. So that's kind of what Bill was saying as far as the multiple checks and controls on each purchase. That's some of the stuff that we have in place.
Yeah, I was very confident that Essex is 100%, but I was surprised that the audit doesn't actually check or reference. That's all.
And actually, one thing I didn't touch on when I was going through the balance sheets is, and it's important to note with separation, the cash balance that you see on the balance sheet is that $22 million in the general fund roughly. There's the liability of due to the village of 10.4 million roughly at June 30th. So once full separation of the finance department takes place, which is currently delayed, but that money does belong to the city and it is being tracked through due from accounting. So that is being tracked separately.
Thank you.
Don, did you?
Do, but Ethan does too. I can wait. I only have a single question.
Okay.
I only have a single question too. So I was reading in I don't know if it's the definition portion, there's the notes to the basic financial statement.
Yes.
But the in the fund balance, and this is just something that's new to me that I haven't read before, but it says that the town has a fund balance policy allowing it to maintain an unassigned fund balance of up to 15%.
Yep.
I was always under the impression that we had to maintain 15%. Is there a minimum requirement that we need to maintain?
No, there is actually no requirement. And before probably I'd say about 2017, 2016, the town didn't have a minimum fund balance policy at all. The village always had, and when the merger started to be talked about and the finance departments came together, that's when the town enacted their minimum fund balance policy. But what it is you hear governments talk about a rainy day fund, whether it be the state or a city. That 15% is kind of that unassigned fund balance that's available for any use. Anything above that is assigned to specific purposes, whether that be the future in lieu like reduction of future property taxes, or say, for example, the police department budgeted to purchase a vehicle in 2022. Because of shortages, that purchase never happened. They assign that portion of their budget to a future capital expense. So that's all part of that 85% of the fund balance.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm on page 21 under note 5 under receivables.
Yes.
I want to know what that unbilled services for business type activities, that's $1,050,000. What is that?
That is nope. Good question. That's your unbilled water and sewer revenues. So there's like a month and a half of lag where there's no bill. That's strictly an estimate, and it's based off of the historical. I believe the way the town does it is 3-year averages for billings in its summer billing. So it's I believe it's 1.5 months of water and sewer sales.
Okay. I saw that, you know. That was-
That's a big number.
Thank you. Yeah, that's why it kind of jumped out. It's like, okay. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Alrighty, any other board member questions? Hey, you up for questions from the public?
Yeah, to what I can answer, yes.
Yeah, what you can answer, yeah. Okay, any comments or questions from the public? I don't see any hands in the room, and I don't see any hands online. So, any other staff comments?
No, it's always good to get a unmodified clean audit, and
yeah.
proud to have that again this year. That's credit to Dan and Sarah and Courtney, as Bill said.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. All right,
Thanks.
great.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
Thank
everyone.
you.
I guess I
Thank
should
you.
mention that the audit's actually up on our website as well under the finance department, so people in the public take a look at it.
People can take a look at it. Great. All right, thank you so much.
I would just add that kudos to the staff that in such a difficult year, you have a clean audit. That's great.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, moving on to business item 5B, discussion and potential action regarding whether to approve the mailing of ballots to all active voters for Essex Westford School District. We already had a discussion about whether to do the same for town ballots. This is the way the statute is written for school districts is the school district can vote to mail ballots, but they need approval from all of the municipalities that are part of the school district. So the Essex Westford School District School Board has voted in favor of mailing ballots, and they need to get, I don't know if permission is the right word, or approval of Essex Town, Essex Junction, and Westford in order to do so. So that's the question before us. Anybody have any comment anybody wants to make on that? Questions around that?
I have a couple questions. Did anybody check with the town clerk to see if that's something she and her staff have time to do? And why isn't it a school clerk doing it instead of the town clerk?
So from the standpoint of stuffing ballots before mailing, they're going to use the jet service that they've used before. So we won't be using any staff to stuff envelopes. When ballots come back, though, I don't know what the plan is with regard to whether they'll be pre-sorted. No, I don't, they'll only be, I guess here we'll get both town and city ballots. They will likely have to get sorted out. The Essex Westford School District will pay for all of those hours that are spent doing that.
Clerk's office is amenable to the request. They can handle it. We reviewed it. I reviewed it with them when the request came in last week. It's something that they can take on. We don't think it will be that much work, that much time. And as Andy said, the school district will be paying for the cost of it, cost of the mailing, cost of the sorting.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, I, I kind of had the same questions as Don, and one of the main things that came up to me was, you know, as far as the verification of the voter list. I know that happens with the clerk, so that's going to happen before the election. Is that going to be based off from the town election? Is there time enough in there to verify the voting list from the town election before the school election, or is this going to be a separate operation that's going to require town staff to look at the voter list and registration in order to mail the ballots? Because that was one of the main concerns that I had, was how much time is this going to take, and the logistics of town staff involvement. So I don't know if that was a question that was asked, but that was one of the first things that came to my mind.
The voter list is updated pretty regularly throughout the year. As to exactly when the latest update will be, I'm not sure. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, reading the agenda for the upcoming BCA meeting, I think the voter polls or rolls are
We're voting on purging them.
in odd numbered years. This is an odd numbered year, and it has not happened yet this year, because that's one of the discussions that
We have maintained a list of that needs to be purged, correct?
Right. So any voter who is, well, yeah, right. I guess I can't speak for when the
Right, and that was my
when
question.
somebody
Was,
when what the cutoff will be for who decides which votes are. Yeah. So if somebody's a challenged voter, if there's a record that their property has been sold, they may become a challenged voter. Right. That's my understanding.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know where that.
yeah, that was
I don't think
what
we-
sparked my idea. Was the email?
I
I was wondering. I was like, if that's
I
the
think
case,
it's normal practice. That,
will they have the
as Greg
information
said, that
before
it gets updated
the vote?
on an ongoing basis?
So,
And Ethan, to answer your question, they wouldn't be able to take the checklist from the town meeting vote because that gets locked for 30 or 60 days or
so
something.
they would have to do it
It
individually.
would just, if as long as it was updated online as they came in, they would be fine, but they wouldn't be able to do like an apples to apples comparison. But I have a question for the board, I guess. Why do you want to do this?
Oh yeah, come on up. Yeah, join. Yeah, come on. You can join the. I should have. I guess. I'm sorry. I didn't.
No
invite you to
problem.
come up and talk about this. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Brendan Kinney, and I'm a member of the Essex Westford School District Board of Directors. And so the reason why we are interested in mailing the ballots this year is because of the fact that it just increases voter participation. We understand that it was instituted as part of our COVID protection measures, but the fact of the matter is that it dramatically improves the participation of voters in the election on a significant item. The school budget is significant. It's a big decision for the community. And so we wanted to maintain that practice, especially since we've budgeted for it. We're hoping that the town would work with us again to mail those ballots to active voters in the community.
That's another question.
You can ask.
And so you're aware of, we were informed that it would be, for us to do it would be $17,000, and it'd be even more because you're doing 3
That's right.
and you're prepared for that. I just know things are tight with the school district budget, so I'm just,
Yeah, I don't know if Brian wants to address that or not, but it is something that we do have budget funds for this year.
I guess I'll make a comment to that too, because that was one of the things that I was thinking about also. I mean, for a town as Essex that you guys are a part of, we're facing one of the largest tax increases in history, and one of the school boards increase isn't that far behind on as far as record numbers. I just didn't think it would be maybe the best decision to spend more money on something that could be a cheaper option. So.
Any other? In Kendall?
Greg got his hand up.
I'll
I
just,
saw your hand.
yeah.
I know.
No, I just want to try to make the point that this is a request from the school district. It's typically something that they would do. It's their decision. It's their budget. statute requires it to go to the select board for approval. Our staff can handle it. It's not going to be a cost for us, and I think it's worth listening to the school district and being a good partner and listening to their request. Again, we can take it on. It's their cost, so that's just my 2 cents.
That was my concern is with the clerk's office because we keep hearing how overworked the staff is, and I just want to make sure this fits into their plan. So at this time, I make the motion that we
So
approve.
let's set
Sorry.
this for public
Sorry.
comment first.
Art.
Sorry.
My
Yeah,
fault.
sorry, Don. Any comment from the public on this? Don't see any hands in the room. I don't see any hands online. So,
At this time, I'd like to make the motion that the select board approve the town clerk and staff to mail ballots to all active registered voters in the town of Essex on behalf of the Essex Westford School District.
thank you, Don. Do I have a second? Thank you, Kendall. Any further discussion? Okay, so the vote will be to authorize town staff to support the mailing of ballots for the on behalf of the school district. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right.
Opposed? Say nay. Okay, motion passes 4-0.
Great.
So,
Thank you so much.
yep.
We
and
really
we'll-
appreciate it.
We'll document this in the minutes and get that to you.
Great. Thanks so much.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the next business item. 5C, consider support and approval of an official map project for the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission Unified Planning Work Program. Catherine, are you talking about that?
Evening.
Evening.
So there's a memo in your packet that explains what the ask is. But I wanted to explain a little bit more about, about the program and why we're asking. So the Regional Planning Commission has, it's sort of like a local grant program, essentially, that they ask towns what projects that they would like help with during the year. And they generally have a transportation nexus to them. And if they don't, then you're unlikely to get help from them, but you could also get help from them more in staff time that we would pay for. But if it has a transportation nexus, then it is free for the town. And so our ask this year is for an official map. And the memo that I wrote goes into a lot of the detail about what an official map is, and hopefully you had a chance to look at that and understand. And it's kind of a, I would say, confusing thing because we have like an official zoning map and we have an official street map, that kind of thing. But an official map is something that is enabled by state statute to allow a town to lay out desired infrastructure in a location. And it could be townwide, or in this case, we're talking about a smaller area. And so that would be laying out roads, sidewalks, paths, any sort of civic space. So whether it's a park or any other municipal land. And so the area that I'm thinking about here is 2 areas that are from the ETC Next plan that are in our town center. And they're the areas that are most dense, where we want to see the most development. And so the official map, sort of backing up, why are we asking for official map? It's a requirement of a new town designation or new town center designation from the state. And we've had some conversations about the desire to ask for state designations. And the new town center designation has a long list of requirements. And so this is one of them. And it's one that we could easily get help from the Regional Planning Commission for. And so other requirements are updating our town plan to have language about wanting designations, updating our zoning to talk about some design control requirements, making sure our capital plan talks about infrastructure needs in that area. So I have a whole checklist of things that we need to do. This was a good one to start with this year. Let's get the official map out of the way, and then we can start working on the other things, or even concurrently work on the other things. Like we are working on the town plan now, for example. So explaining a little bit, you want me to explain a little bit more about the official map specifically?
Can I ask how will this map fit in with the one that we saw for the Essex Town
The ETC next.
ETC next?
So
Is there an
yeah, so that's a great question. So the ETC next plan had a lot of maps in there,
Yeah.
actually, right? And so this one works well off of those. So that's a good support to get us to the next step of the official map.
okay?
So one of the things in the ETC next plan shows our different planning areas. So we're looking at 2 specific planning areas. So that's already, the area has been defined for the official map. But then there's also a map that does show some connections that we'd like to see, like roads connecting different parts in that area. So a lot of that planning, a lot of the public outreach has already been done for it. So this is really more just taking it to the next step and formalizing,
Okay.
sort of rechecking as well too with the public. So we'd be getting help from the Regional Planning Commission to actually do that part. So do the public part, do putting it on paper. And we do have Shannon in-house that could probably help with some of the actual mapping.
Does this encompass all the areas that you would wish to be growth areas? Pretty much?
So we are limited with the growth center or the new town center area to 125 acres. So we couldn't encompass the whole ETC next area. It's just the smaller, more dense part that we would do that. So the other designations that we would be looking for would be a village center designation that doesn't require the official map, and that's more around the library area, the Four Corners there.
Okay.
I don't know if people still call it the Four Corners, but
Yeah.
yeah. I'm dating myself. I think I was talking to someone about, I remember when there wasn't even a traffic light there.
True.
But then there's the next step would be, and the next designation would be a neighborhood development area, which would spread out from there, kind of connecting us over to the new town center area. Those phases of.
So this is a great first step, opening up a lot of grant funds, a lot of grant funding. Probably.
Yes,
Oh, excellent.
for sure.
Ethan.
So is the red circle the 125 acres?
It's approximately. Yeah, I was adding it up the other day, and it might be a tad over. So,
Okay.
but it was approximate, so very close.
Because I did just notice that it was missing our town park by a few, well, it looks like a few hundred feet.
The town forest.
No, the town park on Essex Way.
Oh,
No.
Yeah, it's not included.
Myers Park.
Yeah.
Right.
But I was just curious. I didn't
Yeah.
know if, the 125 would be just the town center, or if I don't know. I was just curious if that was
yeah,
the
really those two
125
areas that were
were
circled.
highlighted.
Yeah,
So
But
the mixed use north and mixed use south.
it's not set in stone.
Right.
So if we do feel like we need to shift those areas, that's what was studied and I think determined through the ETC next planning process. But I think there's flexibility there.
Yeah, I just personally think that, town center should include at least a little bit of municipal property. So,
Well, and part of this official map process is maybe to determine where we'd want some other civic space. So if we want another park, another small park, we want some trails or something to connect more. That's what we could put that on there.
Okay. Anything else from board members? I do see a hand up from the public. Betsy Dunn, go ahead.
Thank you, Andy. I am looking at that circle, that red circle on page 68 in the packet. And it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, that it does encompass some of the Matthew Forest. And I would like to see us not touch that Matthew Forest and leave it intact. Bothers me that I see that much of it in there.
All right, thanks, Betsy.
Do you see that on page 68?
Good, good.
Catherine, this is just a general, the circle is not a defined boundary of exactly where it's going to be. This is just a general sense of that's the area. we're
Yeah, so
looking
I was
at, right?
pointing out that there's the north and the south areas
Okay.
from the ETC Next plan. So that circle was just like, look here, and it was highlighted, I think, in the,
In the two different
for some
colors.
reason didn't print out that page, but
So it's not specifically looking at a couple sections of Matthew Forest. It's just
No.
more trying to highlight that general part of
Yes.
town is going to be where the official map would
Right.
would be. drawn
right.
up.
So in those two areas that are the north and the south area were studied or determined already with the ETC Next plan. So I don't think it includes the Matthew Forest.
It doesn't. If you look, Matthews Forest doesn't start until like you just pass the end of Sunset Drive where you have it here. So I don't think it touches the forest. I mean, I don't see it touching it here.
But you're saying it's only the purple and the orange.
Right.
Okay. That was the
Correct.
only confusion I had too. I was
Yep.
like,
Yeah. So
what are these? I
Yeah.
didn't know if the rest of the map, to me isn't colored.
Mhm.
Because originally I was like, oh, why is all that residential recreation when there's only a little bit of conservation recreation? And then I was like, oh wait, the rest of that isn't colored. There's only
Right.
5 sections or
Right.
6 sections colored.
Right.
So when I saw the circle, I was just kind of like,
right.
is this the circle? Is it?
Too many things going on
So,
there, maybe.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for the clarification. on
Right,
that.
so the circle just identifies a general area. The
Just
area,
to
the
us, yeah.
specific boundaries of the
Right.
designation would be
Right.
explicitly determined at some point with the public process.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But there would be no intent to fragment that piece of land there into housing.
No.
There's no
Okay.
mention here with
Okay, good.
that circle is drawn, right?
No,
Okay.
and housing isn't really a part of the official map project
Right.
either. And that would be sort of the next phase if we were to change the zoning,
Right.
which we would need to if we're going for the designation. But we would not be touching that land. The part.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for the question, Betsy. Let's see if I can get back to the meeting here. Mouse. Any other comments? Okay, so let's see.
I'd like to see us support this initiative.
Sorry, what?
I'd like to see us support this initiative.
Yeah. I was just looking to see, you're looking for action from us tonight, right?
Right. So I don't need a signature. I just need really what Don said there, just a support by approving going forward with the application.
Okay, so are you looking for a motion? Or you
Doesn't
just looking
say.
for a
It just says
consensus?
support of.
We'd like a motion, please.
There is a motion there. Okay.
I make the motion that we approve this outreach. Just a minute. Let me go back.
I got it.
Go ahead.
I make the motion that the select board show their support for the official map application of the UPWP as presented.
All right.
Second.
Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Kendall. Thanks for the motion and for the second. Any further discussion?
So,
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Catherine.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the work that went behind that. Is to come, yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next agenda item, which is 5D, discussion and potential action about town meeting outreach for select board members. In past years, pre-COVID, the select board used to go to events at various venues throughout in the town, mostly at the schools or the high school. where we would hand out information packets around about the town budget and or any other specific agenda items associated with town meeting. I would assume that this time we would have something about the capital tax increase and the charter changes as well as the budget. Typically what we've done, or what I've done, is show up a half hour, 45 minutes before an event starts with a stack of papers as people are coming in through the main doors of the high school, asking folks if they're Essex town residents, which I guess is maybe a little more challenging this year because people may not know. But and then offering the information packet to them. I typically would say, are you a resident of Essex? And then if they say yes, I've got information about your town meetings coming up. I've got information here, whatever, however you want to say that. And often people are thankful. Many people will say no, thank you. Some people will say they're not residents of Essex, but then I'd always invite them to our town meeting anyway. But
That explains the crowd in the back.
but since we're not having any dinner this year, maybe it's not as enticing. I guess, was it Marguerite that went and looked at the high school calendar and picked out a number of things that are coming up. Some of them are coming up pretty quick. I don't even know if we have information packets available.
That's on the docket for this week, is to get those Q&As info packets put together.
Okay.
By Wednesday?
Yeah, so the events that are this I think is just a sample of events, and actually it does lead up pretty close to town meeting, because town meeting's March 6th, right? And so I guess the question is whether we want to go back to this practice, and whether board members would be interested in or willing to sign up for some number. In the past, we've asked for commitment to do 2 of them. It's not, I shouldn't say commitment. I said willingness to do 2 of them. It's certainly not a requirement.
There's just the sporting events is all you have?
There is on the list. There's a band concert.
What is that one?
There is the Essex Parks and Rec is having a fire and
Yeah,
ice.
that's outdoors by the skating rink. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Just a minute.
And so, yeah, it's typically been we essentially what we've done is looked at the calendar at the high school and picked out the events where we think people will be coming through.
Hannaford's has a no soliciting policy, so we can't do it there.
Yeah.
No, I was just thinking, I mean, you've got activities at the middle school, you've got activities at the library,
Was picking.
no, it's fine. I'm just,
Yeah, and then you're right, and it's a little awkward, right? Since the high school's not in the town anymore.
We can certainly expand it if this is something you're interested in doing. If you have more thoughts of other events, happy to hear them, happy to add them to the list, or to just go on your own. This is, like Andy said, kind of what we've done in the past, but focusing on the high school events, but that doesn't mean it can't evolve.
I'm in favor. I like a good hockey game, so I'll sign up for the boys' hockeys. But I also agree with Don. If there's any, I mean, I'm more than willing to go for more than 2. I like that the options that we have are later events, because if there's daytime events, I probably won't be able to attend. But I'm more than happy to step up for the evening events. If anybody else thinks it's a good idea, we should continue the tradition.
I'm an introvert, so this is terrifying. But I suppose I could probably take maybe a basketball game or 2.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. I don't know, Greg, how you want to do this. If we have packets available, but today's the 6th. A week from today's the 13th, so we probably can't do anything before the 13th. Is that?
Yeah, I would say give us until the 13th. Thank you. We can, Marguerite and Tammy and I can work and put together a way to have you sign up for different events, and one or two of you at an event. And like I said, if there's something else that we've missed, please let us know and we can add that to the list too.
Right, that's the other thing, right? We can't have more than two of us at an event. I've often done them singly. It's it's not that much of a rush of people coming in typically. The one thing is those that are potentially campaigning for the upcoming election, you shouldn't campaign during that time period. Yeah,
I can do the band concert on the 15th. Not a big sport. But I think I can physically do that one for you.
Yoo-hoo.
and some of those events that take place in the auditorium can be a little challenging because they don't always open the doors right away. But it also makes it good because then
Just
you
to
just
run
go-
down the aisle of
just go
people.
down the line.
So, yeah.
Yeah. you can
That's
hit
the plan.
everybody that way. Unless I don't know, do we want to? Does anybody want to commit tonight, or do we want to put together some? Probably easier for you if you didn't have to put together a.
Yeah, if you know what you want to do
Doodle
tonight, we
thing.
can pencil you in
I'll
and
pick
send it out.
boys hockey on the 22nd and boys hockey on the. Oh, you're not doing the 11th. You're gonna make me go. All right, I'll do fire and ice if nobody else, unless somebody else wants to. Then I can bring my kids and let them skate.
Okay, then.
Actually, when is fire and ice? Hang on, before I say that.
That's the
It's a
18th.
Saturday.
That's a Saturday. Okay.
So I had already marked down for myself girls hockey on the 22nd and boys basketball on the 13th. So if Kendall, I don't know, are you available on the 15th to do the girls basketball game?
Possibly. I like Greg's idea of a list and then able to choose
Yeah, yeah.
later.
Right, yeah, because it wasn't necessarily obvious that you needed to look at your calendar before coming to the meeting tonight.
The 11th is Saturday, Greg. Do you think that the packets will be done this week?
I'm going to target Friday, but if I need the weekend, I might need to take the weekend. But I'm thinking Friday will be good.
So let's
You could also I'm sorry.
let's say possibly the 11th.
You could pencil something in for the 11th, and
And if it
let's
happens,
just
great.
wrap it.
If it doesn't, I'll pick up something else.
And Kendall, it's perfectly fine if you want to go home and circle the wagons and decide you can let
Yeah.
Marguerite know.
Mhm.
Let Marguerite know.
Yeah.
And if anybody, so at least we can cover those number of events. Usually have to coordinate with Marguerite to get the stack of paper.
What about setting up something like a the coffee place that people just could come in and talk or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, they've been open to us holding the town plan event,
Yeah.
coffee chat before, so that's an
I
option.
was just wondering, something like that I think would be, because not all your older residents, you're not going to find them here at these sports activities. Some of the seniors do go to the concerts, but we need to do some outreach to the senior center too.
What about the when's the next book meeting at the library?
What?
The next book meeting at the library?
Oh, a book
Did we
meeting
have
is.
one of those? Is there a lot of people?
I'm sorry, I don't know what it is.
I don't know what they. Maybe I'm saying it wrong.
I think they have a monthly book discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can find out when it is.
maybe that'd be a good. Just stop in or drop off some packets or
Should
whatever.
check out to see where the library has a
Maybe there's
policy
some
on,
older folks.
I don't
there,
think you
Donnie.
can do that at the library. You're right. I
yeah,
don't think.
they may have a policy that
Uh-oh.
No,
doesn't allow
Well,
that. But
okay.
but just I think something where, or we could just I don't know set up a time to meet in the lobby of the senior housing place too. We've done that before. We've
So,
gone
yeah,
and registered voters, and
there's-
we've
There's been presentations to the Rotary have been done in the past. Presentation. Folks have gone to. I remember. Why is Mike's name? Skipping Mike. Somebody. or other.
Blagman?
Mike Blagman. Right. Went to the senior center over here and.
I mean, I'd be happy to go talk to the senior center if we could set something up. Go meet them in there. They have a big, lobby area if they have questions. Like hand out stuff there because they're definitely Essex residents over there.
Yep.
So we didn't have to ask
Yeah.
or something. It's just an idea.
Yeah, good one.
So with regard to setting that up, Don, do you want to take the initiative on there, or do you want help from town staff to set a time?
I'd probably make it official if it came from like if Marguerite called or something. I don't know if I can.
Yeah, we can look into that.
Right. And
Okay.
just, yeah.
You're talking Mansfield Place?
Either Mansfield or that other scene, the one. Is that Mansfield Place too? The building before
No, that's a Cathedral Square.
Yeah, with that one, because that's where most of the voters come out of that section right there. What is, oh. Yeah, I don't think that's part of Mansfield.
It's not.
It's senior housing it's something senior housing. So,
Okay.
yeah, that
Yeah,
would be
you
the
can
one to do it. Hmm?
Find the address or the name of it. Let me know, and we can make sure we're
Okay, I know. It's,
speaking the
okay.
same
Yeah.
location.
Is there a series going on at the Memorial Hall right now? I saw it was packed yesterday, but I don't know if they're doing a show, a play that they play a couple times, or is that something?
I-
to look
Oh, they
into?
had building. They were building sets yesterday for the play.
Yeah, I saw it was quite a few cars, but I didn't know when they were gonna have a play or something. There's usually when there's a show there, there's quite a bit of turnout there if you could show up half hour early. No town residents. Okay.
Not as many. I don't. Maybe you may get some. I don't know how many.
So
But then you'd have to ask and ask and ask. And
Yeah,
if,
yeah.
like Greg said, they may not know. So.
Right.
All right.
So, yep, I think we should go ahead and do some outreach.
Okay.
Just only because we haven't had a lot of
Haven't had a
response
lot
from
of feedback
anybody.
from anybody.
Right.
Yeah. Could be good or could be bad. All right. So you have what you need, Greg?
I do.
I do now. Hand up. Sorry. Let me go back to meeting here. Betsy, is your hand up or is it still up from the last?
Yeah, well, no, it is up now. Thank you. And I applaud Dawn for saying that we should have some other places for outreach rather than just sports events and events at the high school, because not that many of the people of the town go there. When we did the town plan, we had 9 different venue times and we got a lot of people out. But I think that this is important because this is going to be a contentious time around taxes and whatnot that's going on because of the separation. And I think the more we are available for people to ask the questions of, I think that's really important. And the senior center, I've been there when it's packed and there's 20 people. But, I don't know. But I would like to see more than just one event that's not at the high school. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Betsy.
AC just came on.
Anybody have anything else they want to do from the standpoint of?
Sorry, Greg, but I just heard it kicked. The AC just kicked on here.
Yeah, I think if we got the rest of the week, figure out a couple more things for outreach, where we can go, what we can do, and then we'll buckle down a list with all of us, and if we can make it happen by the end of the week, I'm more than happy to attend more than 2 also, but
Mhm.
But our next meeting is
21st.
2 weeks and a day from today.
Right.
And pretty darn close to town meeting. Yeah. I don't have my calendar in front of me, so I don't know that I can. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how we.
I mean, we're not making it a requirement that every select board member has to sign up for at least 2 slots, right? We can
No.
we can eliminate that and just say this is something we want to do, and sign up for what you can, do what you can, and anything that we get out there and hand out is a benefit to the town.
Right. There could be an argument that says we've been talking about the budget since November. There's been plenty of opportunity for people to find out what's going on, to participate. But yes, I fully understand that. Yeah, it might be good to have a coffee chat somewhere, or I guess I could make myself available for thing of schedule. Yeah, and I guess I don't know how to do that scheduling. there also, what I guess came up before, but last week there was a town meeting TV session where Greg and Tracy talked about the budget. She didn't get any questions, I think. It was a live call-in.
That was
Um,
great. That was great. Good job.
Tracy did a good job.
Watch the recording and you get to see it live, but I would have called in for you.
So, need to put more work on staff to figure out times for these things. Is it something you can support, or is it?
I think if it's something like a coffee chat, we can propose a time or two. I'll work with Tammy on that, and
It's called Town Meadow,
thank you.
Meadow.
I think if
22
it's something
Carmichael
like,
Street.
I think if it's something like wanting to go to Town Meadow or Mansfield Place, that can be as simple as one of you letting us know where you want to go and when you want to be there, and we can make the information available. And if a second one of you wants to join, then you can sign up.
Now, is it just totally a packet, or is there also going to be like just a highlight one piece of paper?
It's what we've done in the past is we've done just kind of 1 or 2 pages on
Yep.
each topic on the ballot. So, it's just a question and answer sheet. The budget was probably one of the bigger ones in past years, probably 2 to 3 pages. The charter will probably, I can imagine, having 2 or 3 questions and answers for each topic on the agenda. So that might be a few pages. Give some thought as to whether it's separate Q&A for each one or just charter changes. I'd be leaning towards the latter at this point.
Yeah, just basic.
Capital, probably a page, maybe 2. So and all that combined is, you'll have a 8 to 15 page packet probably. We usually put out just a reminder as to when and where town meeting is, Robert's rules, information around that.
And my experience has been people that are on their way into a sporting event don't ever ask questions. They just either take the packet and say thank you and go, or just take the packet, don't say anything.
Right.
No, I've never had anybody turn around and say, ask a question.
Okay.
Whereas a coffee chat, I think, would be more of a, discussion. Bring up be prepared probably to talk to provide a spoken summary of what's going on, and then just field questions, which can have some challenges. I'd be happy to do that, but I have to figure out a time that works. Guess we can figure out how to schedule that.
Yeah, I just had another thought too. I have to reach out to a friend before I say anything, but there's a place in town I can stand and see about 300 people between 12 and 4. So meet them outside. There's a lot of stuff that happens outside there. So that's another place to, mostly Essex residents and out in there. That's why I was asking about how big the packet was, because I try and hand a book to some people, they're not interested. But if you have
we try to keep it
if you have a couple
short.
pages, they'll
Yeah.
they'll flip through it real quick, So, but yeah, in full support.
All right. We got enough here?
I think so.
Enough said. Any other comments from the public? No hands in the room, no hands online. So, okay. All right. Great. Where are we? Discussion potential. 5E, consider approval of evaluation standards for town manager. I told Greg I was going to be prepared for this, and I left a piece of paper that had all my notes on it at home. So we contractually owe Greg an assessment of his performance. We also need to decide during the first quarter whether to give him a bonus. And so we've talked about this a bit before, and what we had talked about was asking the Travis to coordinate distributing questionnaire to the department heads, and also to select board members, and then collecting that feedback consolidating it, and then we would go forward from there. And so, just to get through some of that, Greg and I and Travis and Marguerite spoke this morning about this a little bit, and there's a proposal that we give we give the department heads 2 weeks to go through their questions. There's a proposal, I think it's in the packet, right, with the
Their questions and our questions are in
their questions and our questions are in there. So, give them the packet as early as tomorrow, and then give them 2 weeks to complete that. Then we would have that feedback consolidated by the beginning of the following week, at which point we could do our 50 question questionnaire, get that back to Travis. Again, he could consolidate it, and then we would have an executive session, targeting an executive session discussion on February 20th?
March.
March 20th. March 20th. Right. It's already February. Sorry, March 20th. And then in that we could decide whether to have the 5 of us, 4 of us and Tracy, and or whether we have Travis in there with us to answer just HR kind of questions, or not. We could ask him to either be there or not, and or we could have Greg in the room too. But I think my choice would be to have the 5 of us and possibly Travis. Then based on that, we would, based on the discussion there, we could do a couple of things. We could then have me and Tracy, or we could do it as a whole 5 of us craft the language to put together to give to Greg for his review, and then hopefully to close all this by the early April.
I'm assuming our 50 questions are going to come on hard copy and not have to take it off here.
Yeah, I hope so too.
So, okay.
Please.
Travis had proposed, right, that we do it on a Google form, so that it would be easier for him to collate and collect, events. But if it's a burden to do it that way, I don't know if we where are we?
I'd rather have paper. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yep. I hear that. Okay. I guess we.
I write better.
We can.
I just have a suggestion that we definitely meet as a full board and as proposed in an executive session to make the evaluation, because I feel that if, let's just say you and Tracy do take it together and figure everything out. If we all are making comments, whether it's to you or to Tracy or to whoever else would be involved, I feel like that would be a violation of the open.
So if we're
talking about the same subject.
so what the way that I would think that this would progress is on March 20th we would have the meeting, an executive session with the 5 of us, possibly Travis, where we could all have our comments, and we could agree generally on what we want to say, and then but crafting the specific language that gets put on a piece of paper and is given to Greg. The question becomes, do we want all 5 of us to do that? We would have to do it in a room together. We couldn't do it online as a thing passed back and forth.
It's always been traditionally, hasn't it? The chair and the vice chair have done it. And I don't have any problem with it.
Right. Yeah.
And then bring it back to the board.
And then bring it back to the board. You could review it and say, okay, no, you got that point wrong, and then we could fix it. We would have to do that probably as a group in a warrant.
Okay.
Yeah, in a
Okay.
you can't do it, as an online discussion or a
Right.
group
It'd be
document that we
right.
edit. Can't
In
do
a
that.
warned executive session.
And so again, it would be 2 weeks for department heads. We would get the input the following week. Then we would have 2 weeks to do our part. Then we would have this executive session discussion. And then the first meeting in April is something like April 4th or something like that. Really would like to have it done and behind us very soon after that. You know, if we have to have an executive session discussion on April 4th, then I would ask that the board authorize either the chair or the chair and the vice chair to meet offline with Greg to provide him with the feedback.
So, I guess that's kind of where my curiosity was coming from with how it would go down. But the March 20th date, is that expected completion?
That's just
That's the first
discussion.
discussion.
That would be the first discussion after
Okay.
after we've seen the department head input. We've all had a chance to do our
ours.
50 questions. Travis has had a chance to aggregate it somehow.
And then April 4th.
and then we
Is the 3rd holiday?
no, it must be the 3rd then.
The 3rd.
Whatever that first.
Okay, so the 3rd would be, we would have, you guys would come back to us with visions of what we came up with from the 20th.
So right, you would somewhere between the 20th and that first meeting in April see a draft of language that would propose to go to Greg, and if needed, we could have another executive session to tweak it, refine it, and go to Greg shortly after that.
I'm just trying to remember the deadline was
So that's a good point. We do have to decide his. We would have to decide whether he gets a bonus by the March 20th or call another meeting. I thought it was in the first quarter
Of the fiscal year.
of the fiscal year.
we have until,
Oh,
The
so
bonus,
we
the
have
bonus
until
piece is not
Sep-
until
we have until
summer
September.
or fall. Yep.
Oh,
I thought that was funny because we just did.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too, but
Yeah,
I was wondering
okay.
if it was contractual, like if there was a
Okay.
contractual date that had to be met with evaluation, like, when the contract was renewed.
Yeah. No.
I didn't know if it was the same.
sorry about that.
Oh no, that's all right. No, I missed that. I should have clarified. The annual merit piece would take effect for July 1st. That's part of the contract. That's the same time that all of their staff gets their merit-based raise, as we talked about last week, 2 weeks ago. The goal behind getting this done in March is that this is the sitting board that is doing the evaluation. So in this case, that probably won't be any turnover on the board, but in future years, just in case there is, making sure that the board that has worked with me for the past year is doing the evaluation. And then, the bonus piece is, that's by the end of September.
Okay, all right.
And
So no,
may I ask
there's-
if you're okay with the timeline of this evaluation?
Oh, yes, that's fine. Thank you.
I would also ask is, did Greg do a self-evaluation along the same lines? He did,
Yeah, there's a
did some
progress
of that.
progress report there.
yeah. That would be the way to compare apples to apples, so to
Yep.
speak.
Yeah.
The only thing I would add to that is I would be more descriptive of what you're expecting from him, because he did highlight all of the goals that we gave him when we came up with our goals. I think it was November. We came up with our goals.
September,
September.
I think it was when we finalized.
Months have
that.
been fine, but I really did like that, and I appreciated that in this packet. But I love the self evaluation. I've gone through that many times myself, but I would think if we were to do a self evaluation, we would want to have clear guidelines of what we expect from him, not just, hey Greg, tell us about yourself, when he's clearly responded to the goals that we've set
Yeah.
forth for him. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's something that we want to go down. I mean, it's a whole nother conversation of what
I
would
would
we
wait.
ask of him.
I think I'd wait.
So
My suggestion would be the same evaluation form that the board uses, same questions. And you can compare, because sometimes there's a big disconnect,
mhm.
some things.
do we have a form?
50 questions.
It's 50 questions. Yeah.
Oh, use the same.
Yeah, that's what he
use that
said.
same form.
Yeah. To think about whether that's.
Again, I'm just
Yeah,
throwing it
yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Chime in, Greg.
Yeah. So we're we're measuring Greg against the goals that we agreed to, and he's provided us with a progress report against those goals.
Which he has.
Yeah.
So
And
I don't think there's any point in doing a self-evaluation.
yeah, so I don't know.
But there is an evaluation form in your packet that, barring any feedback or changes tonight, that's what would go out to department heads. That's what would go out to you.
Right.
I think that's what you said. You'd
Yeah.
like to see me do a self-evaluation on. I'm fine with that. That's fine.
Well, then at this time, I'd like to recommend that we approve the evaluation standards for the town manager as presented in our packet.
Second.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Ethan. So any further discussion? Do everybody okay with all of the questions that are on the two forms?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the merge between the two different
Oh,
with the
South
originals.
Burlington and
I feel like you highlighted a lot of the good points that maybe some of the other questions were. Good job.
Thank you. And certainly, as this is
I
the
liked
first
it.
time we'll do this, so happy to take feedback along the way, and definitely would love to adjust if there's things that seem redundant or are missing.
That was the word I was looking for before.
All right. So,
All those in favor?
no, I just wanted, there's an asterisk next to this one. I'm assuming that we don't want to have a discussion tonight about his performance. Or does anybody see that otherwise?
No.
Okay, so there's no
great.
need to have another motion with regard to having that.
No, as long as we've addressed everything, Greg's comfortable and we're comfortable, I'm fine.
And that was the intent of that asterisk, right? In case we wanted to have a discussion.
Yeah, there
just in
was
case
a
you wanted to get into
motion.
specific performance, that
Yeah.
option was
Yep.
available tonight.
Yep. So, all right. So now we have a motion on the table. We have a second. And since this is a evaluation of the manager discussion, do we want to ask for public comment, or is it because it's we missed that part again?
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were going to ask for
Anybody want to
public
make any
comment.
comments? Ask any questions about manager evaluation? Don't see any hands in the room. Don't see any hands online. So we'll go back to the motion on the floor, on the table, on the floor, wherever it is. All those in favor of approving the evaluation standards, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes 4-0. So yeah, ask Travis to get the ball rolling on that. Great, thanks so much. And thanks everybody, because this is an important thing, and it's a contractual obligation, and would be totally unfair to not do it right or not do it well.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. So, does F have anything to do with E, or is that a separate issue?
Those are separate.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, although they have the same, they have the same single asterisk. It's the same type
Be the
of
same
discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same
so-
reason to enter executive session.
Okay.
Okay, so F, G, and H are all executive session discussions. Or anything to say publicly about any of those? I didn't think so. So we'll move on to consent agenda.
I make the motion. We accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Don. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ethan. Any further discussion?
I'm just curious, are there a number of new town highways coming up?
No, there was just that Chase Court that was in there.
That's the only one?
Yep.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Reading file, any board member comments?
I got one.
Yes.
I was watching the news and I just wanted to give a thank you to, and I hope I say his last name correctly, but Corporal Wayman and K9 Nova for tracking a victim or a suspect the other day and locating him. So that was pretty awesome to see. And I got to see a little video of Nova doing her job. So I was excited to see that. Want to give him a token of appreciation. And
All right. Anything else?
Has there been any word back at all from the transportation agency of transportation on the crosswalk? Nothing.
Not that I've heard yet, no.
All right. So then let's move on to, sounds like we have a series of executive session motions to make. Anybody have those available?
yeah, I think we need the last two though.
No, I just asked him, Ethan, that's why.
There is,
It is
after,
the A. Okay. Okay. Sorry.
yeah, we still need to do the one for,
Okay. I move that the select board enter into executive session to discuss the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee in accordance with 1 VSA section 313A3 to include the town manager and deputy manager.
Second.
thank you, Don. Thank you, Ethan. Any further discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion passes 4-0.
Minute. Sorry. I'm almost there. I make the motion that the school board. Oh geez, sorry. I move that the select board enter into executive session to discuss the negotiating or securing of real estate purchase or lease options in accordance with 1 VSA section 313A2 and to include the town manager and deputy manager.
Second.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Ethan. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion passes 4-0.
I move that the select board make the specific finding that general public knowledge of pending or probable civil litigation to which the public body is or may be a party would place the town at a substantial disadvantage.
Second.
Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Kendall, for the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion passes 4-0.
I move that the select board enter into executive session to discuss pending or probable civil litigation to which the public body is or may be a party pursuant to 1 VSA 313A1E to include the town manager and deputy manager.
Okay, thank you, Ethan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Don. Discussion, any discussion? So we will not, don't anticipate making any motions after this. So Scott, you can wrap, and we won't come back to the room here. We will just open the door upstairs and adjourn from there. And so thank you everyone who has attended this evening. But we do need to have a vote for this last motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes 4-0. And now I'll say thank you and good night, everybody.